Hello, 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 beautiful friends. Welcome back to day 2, Manifesting Abundance Through Your Life Purpose Accelerator. So excited to be here with you. I love, love, love being here with you. I love you. And I could not be more honored and blessed to be in this space, to hold space for you and help bring you the awareness of what it takes to finally break free and live the life you were meant to live, to realign to your original design, step into your purpose, and realize, physically, tangibly realize your abundant birthright in your life. So, how did you feel yesterday? Did you get emotional trying to say, I am the one? Some people have a lot of resistance around that, and really notice what area of your body got activated when you said, I am the one. What area of your body did you feel resistant? Did your heart clench? Did your stomach turn over? And really go deep into that feeling and that sensation of, I am the one. Yeah, but, right? Look at that yeah, but as the key, right? That's the root of your weed. You want to go after that sucker and pull that out because you are the one. And noticing it and how it feels in your body is sort of the first step in the somatic healing process that is necessary to start removing these blocks from our lives. Notice, was it hard to own it? Was it hard to feel it? Was it hard to say it? And then give yourself credit for being vulnerable, for showing up, for being seen. In your willingness to be seen, you are actually helping others. So thank you for your authenticity. It is such a privilege to see your beautiful faces and hear, whether it's energetically or physically, your voice claiming your power and taking your power back. And then sort of notice, what was your biggest takeaway from yesterday? Because that will also inform where you're at and what you need to work with. What did you feel shifting in your body, right? Even notice today, as we go through the next 2 days, notice your body and the things that I say. Notice where in your body do you feel the activation? And there's a hint or a clue in that. And then, of course, helping others also is necessary and what would I say, facilitated when you share, right? So as you post the video stating, I am the one, which by the way, it's not too late. Or if you write the comment or you just share in the comments in this video, what landed for you? What gave you sort of that aha, right? The light bulb moment. As you share these things, you are assisting others and you're making it possible. What's really fascinating about the human brain is that we can all hear somebody say something exactly the same way and yet interpret or hear in our own minds something different. And so as you repeat what you heard, you put it in new language that could potentially land for someone else. So remember, light workers are coming online. It is time for us to shine, to be seen, to create heaven on earth. And as you assist or as you share, you are assisting, right? In supporting the coming together, that it supports the greater whole. As you allow yourself to shine, you are giving permission to others to do the same. Or as you're brave enough to show up and be seen or to leave a comment about what you learned, you are helping draw forward others who are ready to step into the light. It helps to amplify not only you, but the group. It's interesting in the Course in Miracles, they say that it requires, and an idea is, how does it say? An idea grows when it is shared, right? So as you continue to share what you're seeing and hearing here, you are growing this idea as a being in its own right so that it can reach more people, right? So remember, we are family. You are not alone in this together. We are all brothers and sisters in this journey, and it's important to support each other. And it's also important for us to realize we are all one, and we can know that, but right, when we feel it, when we embody it, it's very different. The embodiment of the permission that you give to others takes your power back, and it gives them permission to take their power back, right? Too many of us are playing small, and it's because of how we fear making others feel, right? We're afraid that when we shine, we are hurting someone else or making someone else uncomfortable. And so in that codependent tendency that we have, we shrink back and we take responsibility for how someone else's feels. And yet we are the one that is most damaged or hurt by that. we are not doing anybody any favors by shrinking back and playing small. In fact, we're enabling them to dim their light. So we want people to start waking up. We want people to start shining. This is how the new earth or heaven on earth is created, is through shining your light, right? So then if we know that, right, we know that. The question then becomes, if we are the one, and we're going to commit to being the one, we're going to show up and we're going to be the one for ourselves, knowing that it helps others do the same, then that allows that question of why am I still struggling to come up, right? We're not hiding behind the responsibility of taking care of how everybody else feels anymore. We're not hiding behind, my overgiving or my fawning or my people pleasing is somehow helping someone. We've sort of removed the veil of that limiting, inaccurate belief, which leads us next to the question of, then what am I still struggling with? Why do I still struggle to claim my abundant birthright? And why have I not claimed it? Could it be, most often, many of us have struggled with the next step in this process, which is the belief that what if I don't deserve it? What if it's not safe to have it? Or I haven't earned it yet. I haven't worked hard enough for it yet. And so notice what resonates for you in your body. At a core cellular level, we still have not yet embodied the alignment of the truth to our beliefs. So we have to ask why, right? My favorite exercise, ask why 5 times. You're not literally asking why, but you're just going deep. You keep asking question after question after question until you get to the root of what the underlying concern or fear or belief is. The only reason we haven't claimed it is because we question, what if I'm not the one? What if I'm not good enough? What if I haven't done enough? What if the world isn't enough for me? What if I don't have a purpose? What if I'm bad, wrong, and broken? I'm the only exception to the rule. What if I don't have what it takes to hold the energy long enough to manifest it? What if I fail? And if I do, who will point their finger at me? Who will laugh at me? Who will continue to perpetuate that pain? It's the fear, the disbelief, and the questioning that causes the resistance. It's the doubt that holds us back. Our brain, our body, our nervous system is so petrified of the pain that would be caused by being wrong or by failing that we would rather stay where we are. And it's interesting, what comes to mind is the frog in the pot. That somehow we feel like, yeah, it's getting uncomfortable in here. The water's getting a little bit warmer, but I would rather stay in this place that I know than risk jumping out. But in the end, the frog is boiled to death. It's a slow burn. If he had jumped out, he had a good chance of missing the fire and being free. So don't let that fear of the change hold you back anymore. This is where we say enough is enough. I'm tired of this. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of living a life that I don't love. And when you get rid of that fear and you say, enough is enough, now is the time, I am freaking done, then it will start to work for you. So when we ask that question, what if it doesn't work for me? Look at what's driving that fear, right? So what if it doesn't work for you? Then what, right? What are we afraid of? Right? They say that everything we seek is on the other side of the thing, our greatest fear, right? You have to go through the valley to get to the mountaintop, right? If the only reason we don't get what we want is because of our greatest fear, then what happens if we're just willing to go through it? What happens if we're just willing to try? Can you commit to trying at least one time, or maybe one more time if you've tried before and it didn't work the first time? What if we just went for it? What if we just did it? We didn't give our minds the time to talk us out of it. What if we acted as soon as we received guidance? What if we kept trying and never quit? What if we recognize everything we see as an echo of our past energy and not evidence of what we're manifesting now? What if we choose to trust ourselves, trust the divine, trust the process? What if we declare and command it? As I say, I am the one, I can also declare and command life to behave the way I expect it to, money to behave the way I expect it to, because as within, so without, it is emanating from me. My number one highest priority is my energetic alignment. We have that choice. We have that power. So breathe that in for a minute. Feel that in your body. You have that power, right? Your expectation creates worlds. What does that feel like when I say money behaves the way you expect it to? What have you been expecting? When we own that power, there isn't anything that can stop us. Feel like my solar plexus gets so activated, right? Like I feel the truth of the power that has been gifted to us, not only gifted to us, but we are responsible for using. I always say, your purpose is my purpose. Healing, helping people remove blocks, step into their purpose so they can manifest abundance, the 4 pillars of what I do. But at the heart of that, looking back to the early days when I was, questioning, what is my purpose? What do you want me to do? I had such a strong knowing that teaching people how to own their power, how to use your magic, if you will, is at the heart of all of this. That if we are made in our creator's likeness, we are made to create, we are given the responsibility or the task of creating something good. And when we don't, when we are stagnant, when we are stuck, when we are just getting by in the life that they say we should, we are not doing what we were designed to do. And that will cause every ounce of my being, at least, to writhe in pain. Feel the truth of that. Feel that in your body. Your solar plexus, your heart, right? What gets activated? What says yes? Maybe at first it sounds like I want it to be true for me. But again, it's safe to trust the guidance of your desires, right? What if we recognize that our first thought, idea, or inspiration is what's coming to us from the divine, and everything that comes after that is just the voice of ego and trauma and fear, right? We overthink. We only need the first thought. Everything else we could live without. Let's not allow the space to talk ourselves out of things. What if we didn't wait? What if we just did the thing? Overthinking is definitely a trauma response. Overthinking is the problem. It's not the things that you think. Right? We tell ourselves that we have to get ready, or that we'll never be ready, or we'll never be prepared. We can never get ready from the level of the mind. That's why you're never ready. Because clarity comes from action. Your purpose comes from alchemy. It comes from going out and doing the things, taking the inspired action, and then alchemizing. I like this, I don't like that, right? It's like turning knobs on a dial. We're dialing in the purpose, right? We cannot get ready from the level of the mind. We'll never be able to solidify a plan that feels perfect or good enough simply by thinking about it. Clarity only comes through action. Right? Ideas grow when they're shared. We have to get out there and start sharing, start speaking, especially when we're dealing with the unworthiness wound, because what we'll think is, I really want to have a relationship, but what if it hurts? What if I get hurt again? I really want to start a business, but what if I fail and make a fool of myself? I really want to be free, time, location, financial freedom. But what if I try and I find out I'm still stuck, right? It's the disappointment and the pain that we're trying to avoid. And yet that's the very thing we will experience if we don't try, right? What if I try and fail? What if I'm disappointed again? What if? Notice those, catch those, tie them up, chain them up, throw them out to sea, right? Use some NLP. Imagine that thing getting smaller and smaller as it walks away from you, or flies away from you, or floats away from you. Bury that sucker at the bottom of the ocean. This is not true. False evidence appearing real, right? We are afraid that it won't work. So when we are trying to manifest something while we're also afraid it won't work, we literally have one foot in the old and one foot in the new. We're never fully committed, which means it never really had a chance. The truth is we have to believe it will work. The single most important thing in history is your belief. Believe it will work, right? Our belief shapes everything. Our belief shapes our reality. Our belief combined with our focus and attention literally creates worlds, right? Think of yourself as a projector screen, and everything that you see is emanating from you. A little bit of a delay, depending on how big it is, might be a lot of a delay. So are you ready to choose to believe? The truth is that all strategies work in the right energy. That's why people can get so confused about all of these advertisements online about, Amazon FBA and coaching and online courses and all these things. They all work. They all work in the right energy for the right person. You have to find what's right for you. And it starts in the energy of, I'm the one that's going to make this work. When we claim that, of course it's going to work. There's no other option. It is the belief that it might not work that gets in the way. I would say that is the most common killer of manifestations, is what if it doesn't work? That it requires such sustained focus and attention and effort to go in the body and find what is causing that fear. How do we overcome that fear? And again, if you're dealing with limbic brain, subconscious, nervous system stuff, it requires somatic healing, right? Everything we create stems from that belief in yourself. We don't get what we want. We don't manifest what we desire. We manifest what we think we deserve. In other words, we manifest who we think we are. Right? So everybody knows our beliefs become our thoughts create our feelings create our actions lead to results, and it's this cycle that affirms itself, right? From a neuroscience perspective, the brain has to match in chemistry the pictures we feed it. So when we choose, and it is a choice, to assign a negative meaning to something, right? My course didn't sell. I didn't get the coaching clients I wanted. I didn't get the raise. I didn't get the promotion. My body's still not the way I want it to be. I didn't get the guy. I didn't get the girl. We assign a negative meaning to that. We decide that it means that there's something wrong with me, instead of deciding that rejection is protection, or there's something better coming, this or something better, right? We assign a negative meaning to something. And then from there, what happens is we tell ourselves a story that there's something bad or wrong, which creates a chemical cocktail of stress hormones that floods the body, creating sensations in the body that are not good, right? So your emotion is your bodily response, right? A feeling is different than an emotion. Your emotion, right? So the brain floods the body with the stress hormones, creates emotion in the body. That is your frequency and your emanation, your vibration, right? Think of a time when something really crappy happened and you felt like like that sinking feeling in your gut, in your heart, right? That's a very powerful manifestation that just bursted forward. How often are we doing that? Then look at a time when you felt something amazing, right? You sold the package, you achieved, maybe you ran a marathon, maybe you fell in love, maybe you were gifted something so amazing that it lit you up, right? What did that feeling, what bursts forth from there, right? That's how we manifest. So the way the majority of the world is working right now is it's more reactive instead of proactive. Our manifestations we have the ability to make them proactive, right? To create with intention. It is up to us to learn how to start to do that consciously. And I will tell you that, again, we're hijacked by a subconscious brain, a limbic brain, a nervous system that is fearing things that are no longer a threat. And that's why the somatic healing work is necessary prior to manifestation, because we're hijacked essentially, and we struggle. It is very difficult. Some have gone through the bootstrap method and made it work. I have seen most of them crash down later. It's, kind of like trying to hold its control is also another trauma response. So it's that stranglehold on life that people struggle with perfectionism and keeping things under control and bootstrap method. And it's exhausting because you're still in fight or flight. You're not manifesting from a place of ease, rest and digest, healing, growth, repair, which is more sustainable. Right. So that's why we have to raise our vibration. That's why we have to manage our frequency day to day, moment to moment. That's why we need to calibrate and attune to the frequency of abundance, surround ourselves with people who are living the life that we want to live so that we can attune to them. And that's why this is one of the biggest challenges for spiritual people who've had a difficult life so far, is we don't realize all of these fears that are hiding out. We don't realize that we are being managed or run by our subconscious brain and our limbic brain and our overly sensitive nervous system. Excuse me. We don't realize that we have really rigid core beliefs, like the world is not safe or people are not safe. And that's so common in the spiritual community. I hear people say, I don't belong here. I just want to go home. And yet we forget that we chose to incarnate here. We came with a set of gifts because we wanted to be able to assist in creating heaven on earth. If there's any doubt in your mind of your deservingness, your lovability, your power, your worth, then we won't be able to do what we came here to do, right? So if we're lucky, we will realize our value and worth, but right, knowing it here is different than embodying it, feeling it, right? And when we don't see our own value and worth, we also struggle to see the value and worth in others, which is, again, another common experience in the spiritual community, where we tend to talk bad about people who are not aware of spirituality, or we tend to discredit them, or they're not worthy of spending time with. And that's very unfortunate, because every being is a spiritual being, whether they're aware of it or not. Every being has a purpose, a beautiful, powerful, tremendously special purpose, whether they realize it or not. So if we can't trust anyone or anything, and we always feel unsafe, and we feel like the world is not safe to be in, we're not going to be safe enough in our own bodies to manage our nervous system, to manage our frequency, to call in abundance, right? If we constantly fear being hurt again, it causes the ego to rage. And that's when we create a habit of thinking primarily about ourselves excessively. Hyper self-focus, also another trauma response. And it's not something to feel bad about. It's not something to beat yourself up over. It's just recognizing that something told us we have to really hyper focus on ourselves to make sure we survive, right? And as we heal, we can start to think about others, worry less about our problems. Our problems end up solving themselves, and we're also helping others, right? Very fulfilling, very nourishing. We did it out of protection, right? But it takes over our lives. It consumes our focus, right? Our self-focus is so crippling, because we then end up feeling like the solution to solving problems or preventing problems is to belittle, discount, or criticize ourselves. We don't have grace for ourselves at all. We forget that we're human and we deserve grace. We all make mistakes. Every human deserves grace. And we have to allow space for ourselves to be human, to laugh at our faux pas, to bow when we trip, to forgive ourselves for a bad day. Shit happens, man, and it's okay. Right? Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's imperfect, imperfectly perfect for your purpose, right? Perfection is not possible. Unrealistic expectations, again, a trauma response. Are you able to give yourself some grace? Do you have that negative, toxic voice that is constantly belittling you? I like to call it the little trauma demon that sits on my shoulder. But it's important to separate yourself from that. Give it a name. Recognize it is not you. It is not your truth. And oftentimes they will sound like the voice of our abuser. Did you know it's common for us to choose jobs below our capabilities? We often try to stay in our comfort zone because it makes us feel safe. Of course, then we require coping mechanisms because we can't tolerate the pain of staying the same, the pain of a lack of love and connection and contribution. The pain of stagnation is crippling. So we have to numb out. Food, working out, shopping, those are, most socially acceptable. Most common is hermit mode, right? Under the guise of perpetual healing. How many of you have experienced that phase? Isolation, also a trauma response. I certainly went through it as well. Heaven forbid we choose a coping mechanism that actually adds to our shame. Most of them do anyways. And it'll just cause us to hide even further. Substance abuse or sex addiction. Social media is probably the most common in the spiritual community, where we just end up scrolling endlessly for hours. It's the closest thing we can get to safe connection. Either way, we end up punishing ourselves or trying to make ourselves feel better with something that is even less resourceful or helpful, or certainly not healing. Sometimes it looks like overgiving or people pleasing or trying to rescue others. That at least makes us feel good about ourselves. But what we end up doing is teaching people to treat us poorly, and we end up attracting codependent relationships that just hurt us even more. No matter how hard we try, we continue to attract these painful experiences to us because life, God, source, universe, whatever, is trying to show you where the wounding is, right? Have you ever noticed we continue to attract the same bad relationship over and over and over until we see, hey, there's something in me that is attracting this, and I'm going to have to do something about healing it, right? If we struggle to look ourselves in the eye and struggle even to look at others in the eye, because we know at a deep core level, at a subconscious level, that we're not performing to the best of our abilities, that isolation and coping mechanisms are not healthy. So we lose respect for ourselves. We self-abandon when we do those things, right? Then you'll find that you struggle to even look someone else in the face because you're afraid of them seeing you the way you see yourself, right? Then we start apologizing, right? We apologize for everything, or maybe we're hypersensitive in the face of criticism. And then that just causes the indefinite isolation and social anxiety, right? And we just go back into our hole claiming we need to work on more healing. What's odd or interesting or fascinating is that the very thing that heals us most is healthy connection. And yet it's the thing we have or allow the least of, right? We do all of this because we fear not being enough, or we worry there isn't ever enough, right? Whether it's love, connection, support, it's the general lack mentality, right? Also known as the wound of unworthiness. When we question our value and worth, others will too. No matter how much you think you can hide it, they can sense it, they can feel it. As within, so without. All is mind. We teach others how to treat us. Even when we are alone at home and it's just you in the mirror, that energy is carried with you. All time is now. The message is received, right? It means we have to heal. There is no hiding from this. We have to remove the traumas from our body so that we can come to a point where we are certain in our value and worth, certain that people are safe, certain that we can attract loving relationships, certain that you are safe in the world. There is a frequency to certainty, and it overrides all things. We are that powerful. We are the decider. And when we declare, we are one with the universe, and it responds. The divine wants us to claim our power, to claim the power we have been given and maybe even responsible for. The divine wants us to use it in conjunction to serve the will of the Creator and help and assist others to be in service to humanity in a healthy way, not to the point of overgiving and hurting yourself, but finding the balance. What would it be like? What would the world be like if none of us ever used our gifts? What if there was no healers? What if we were all in perpetual hermit mode? Recognize that we contribute to that block for humanity when we refuse to do the healing work. So how can you be the one if you don't believe you are? How can you expect others to respect you if you don't respect yourself? There is tremendous power in belief, and there's tremendous power in decision. There's tremendous power in choice. So what do you see? What do you want to see? What do you choose to see? And will you choose to see power over fear? Are you ready to become the decider in your life? Excellent. All right. So the next belief is to challenge the belief that we have to do it all on our own, right? Isolation is a trauma response. So is the belief that we are on our own. There's no one we can trust. There's no one we can rely on. There's no support available to me. It's all up to me. And even if that's true from a human perspective, it is never true from a divine perspective. Have you noticed that belief show up in your life? It's the belief of the ego that we are separate, and it is not true. Can you remember that you are not alone? That you are one with the divine. The divine is in your body. The breath of life courses through your body, every breath. The things that you struggle with are part of the human condition in society. Many people struggle with this. And the belief of separation or having to do it alone is one of the beliefs that keeps us stuck. Seeing the subconscious pattern requires a mirror. You will struggle with this if you try to do it alone. In fact, your creator has asked you not to do it alone. I love the passage that says, where two or more are gathered, there I am in the midst. We are asked to come together, to love on each other, to support each other, but more importantly, to surrender to the divine. Let he, she, it, they, them do the heavy lifting. Stop trying to do God's job. It is not up to you. Stop looking outside of yourself. Stop striving. Just rest. Rest in the peace and the ease and the flow of divine assistance. There's no one that can do this for us. This is true. But you're not meant to do it alone either. In order to receive the support, we are simply asked to let go, trust, and allow. Again, control is a trauma response, right? Watch with awe and gratitude as things unfold for you into the beauty and the peace that you are meant to exist in and experience. Lean on your brothers and sisters for support. When you need to recognize them as your mirror so that you can see they're reflecting back to you, even if they don't even realize it, they're reflecting back to you the areas where progress can be made to show you where you still need to heal and to pick you up when you fall down. Without the other, we cannot spot our subconscious patterns. We need healthy mirrors. We are more powerful together, and where two or more are gathered, there the divine is in our midst. We grew up in a hall of mirrors, and the people who did not love us or care for us properly the way we needed them to reflected back to us an inaccurate measure of who we are. Hurt people, and it says nothing about you. It's time to surround yourselves with accurate, loving mirrors, and remember that proximity is power. Entrainment and calibration are key. You are the sum of the people you surround yourself with. So are you ready to become who you were made to be? So of course, this entire accelerator would not be complete if I did not share my story. Part of healing this wound is recognizing that the brain is not serving us, and the brain's job is to keep us safe. So it believes that there's safety in staying the same, but that really doesn't actually serve us. Part of the brain's job is to keep you from looking at the things that hurt you in the past. It's called disassociation from a psychology perspective. But as we know, we have to feel it to heal it. We have to go through the thing we fear, and we become stronger than the brain and override cognitive dissonance when we show up. We allow ourselves to be seen. We are vulnerable. We share our weaknesses. We share our story. And so as a leader, that requires being seen, being vulnerable. And so I have to model that for you. I don't actually like telling my story very much. It's pretty gory and messy, but I'll do it for you because it helps. It helps people remember that you can get from point A to point B. You can go from white bread and Kool-Aid to overflow of abundance. So just know this is raw and real, and I'll just give you a trigger warning now in case you have any traumatic challenges in the past. Just be prepared. I won't go into the gory details, but we'll skim over it. So I grew up in a middle class home with 2 siblings and a dog named Cowboy, little Sheltie. We had multiple Shelties. We basically had all the things we ever needed. But my emotional needs were not met. My father was not only a pastor, but also a narcissist, which is a great combination because, God gave him authority. So we were frequently told that we were sinners, shameful, we should beg for forgiveness. Every ounce of the messaging from my father was, you're bad, right? You're bad. You're doing bad things. Everything you do is bad and you are bad, right? And bad became my very triggered word that stemmed from that memory. And then, of course, there was the fear factor. If you don't repent and admit to your sins, then you won't go to heaven, and God's going to come back any moment, and you better hope that you didn't have a negative thought 5 seconds earlier, because then you would go to hell, right? So this hypervigilance around being perfect was created, right, in hope of being allowed into heaven. But it really just created a lot of suffering. And I was taught to self-sacrifice and tolerate pain. And even in the acting out or the coping responses, I was, further punished and told I was a sinner or I was a bad person, right? The keywords of my foundation of unworthiness and trauma were born there. On top of the constant barrage of not being enough, there was also emotional, physical, and sexual abuse in my childhood. So I never really felt seen or heard or cared for or loved, let alone safe. What I did feel was lost, confused, anxious, depressed. And this feeling that I now know is very closely associated with anxiety, very much a trauma response. But it was like this feeling of wanting to just crawl out of my skin, wanting to escape, but I didn't know what. Escape my life, escape my home. I felt trapped. I very much felt in a prison, and I was very much in my head, the constant rumination of trying to figure out what's happening and how do I make it stop? How do I prevent this pain? How do I get my needs met? And yet it was so subtle and subconscious. I didn't realize those were the thoughts I was thinking in that moment. It wasn't until 27 years old when I finally started to wake up to the internal environment. These ruminations would drive me crazy. I really felt like I was going insane at times. And I would mostly think about, how do I keep myself safe? How do I prevent this pain from continuing to happen? But it kept happening. And I just felt like life was torturing me. And all I really wanted was to just live a normal life. It seemed like everybody else was happy, and I just wanted to be happy like everybody else was. I wanted a loving and supportive family, friends, life experiences, the freedom to be a kid. We weren't allowed to leave the property. We basically walked back and forth between the church and the house. There were no friends outside of the church. I went to a school that at one point was like less than 10 kids, and there was not one kid my age. It really felt like a prison or a compound. Right. And I didn't feel like I could be a kid. There was no playing. I felt like I was just carrying this 10,000 ton weight of how bad I was for wanting natural, normal things. Right. And I was exacerbated is probably the best word, just by this soul crushing belief that I would never be lovable. I would never find love. And it's really interesting because that's activating for me even now, that belief, it is so pervasive. It's very fascinating how you don't realize that everything you do, everything you say, everywhere you go, every piece of clothing you buy, everything you eat, it all is run through this filter of, will I prove my lovability? Will this bring me closer to love? Or, heaven forbid, it makes me feel more unlovable. And then of course it's going to create shutdown. And it's crazy looking back how I can see how that played out in everything that I did. And once you start to recognize your traumas, you'll be surprised how often and frequently this shows up. Right? I became deeply curious about what was I seeking, because I didn't even understand, what do I really want? Like I know this, I know I'm hurting and I knew I was in pain, but I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know that your needs were valid, right? The message was that your needs are a problem, right? So finally what I discovered was all I wanted was peace. I just wanted to quiet the chaos, the internal battle and war that was always ongoing. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to feel safe. I never wanted to have to worry again about more pain. And I wanted to be able to truly rest. My body was tired. You know, when you live in hypervigilance, it's exhausting for the body. I wanted to feel valuable and valid. No matter how good of a person I was, that was never reflected back to me. No matter how much I self-sacrificed or gave myself away, no matter how much I conformed or people pleased, no matter how easygoing or passive I became, people continued to hurt me. And I kept attracting painful people and situations into my life. Depression and anxiety kept building, and it haunted me constantly. It was the deepest, darkest night of the soul that shook me to the core when I had experienced yet another narcissist and accidentally became pregnant. It was truly my worst fear, because that was society's rubber stamp of not good enough, right? Damaged goods at an age that I thought was going to be perfect. 27 years old. I so looked for that age. I was so excited. And yet it was tarnished by this unforgivable thing that I did. I feared that no one would ever love me. And I was never more lost in my own head and in my own ruminations than that time, desperately trying to understand, what did I do to deserve this? Why didn't he love me enough to take care of me and the baby? Why did he cheat on me? Why did he run around, right? It was always my fault. What did I do to create those things, right? Why am I not good enough for him to change and show up for me? Why was he so cold and heartless when all I did was love him? I was a prisoner in my own mind yet again. And every ounce of my heart and body ached with the pain of knowing I could not escape this life. I wanted to quit and I wanted to give up. But there was no quitting. Luckily, being a mother is something I enjoy and love. And I loved my son far too much to do that. And then I stumbled into a beautiful relationship with a psychologist and started to understand my internal environment. And I found a book that changed my life when I finally had this light bulb moment of like, holy crap, I've been thinking all of these thoughts. I've had all these beliefs and I never even knew it. I mean, I literally felt like for 27 years of my life, I had lived in a dark room and somebody finally turned on a light bulb. Like I never observed my thoughts. I never once saw my thoughts before that. Even though I had journaled, I didn't realize the internal environment. And that was, it was like a Yahoo kind of moment. Like, oh my gosh, I finally see a way that I can make this change. I can finally have a sense of control over fixing this problem. And that's when I began to dig into spirituality, ancient wisdom, personal development. I finally started to understand how to play the game called life. I had a chance to actually make a good life. And I even found myself asking, why didn't they teach me this in school? Have you ever noticed that? This is like critical life skills that should be taught in school, which if I have my way will happen before I die. But understanding that we are creators and we create through our thoughts and our vibration was a game changer for me. And I learned how to change from not only a psychology and a scientific perspective, but a spiritual perspective as well. And that's when things truly started to happen, right? I consumed every piece of information that I could, you know, ancient wisdom, psychology, neuroscience, biology, biohacking, everything I could to make life better, right? And my therapist joked that I had a personal master's in these fields because I just, you know, we identify as the seeker. We just want to keep consuming and keep bringing it in. We don't realize that there's still something more that we're seeking that we haven't quite obtained, and it's not knowledge. This is the trick. So many seekers say, I'm a seeker of wisdom, I'm a seeker of knowledge. When you finally heal and you finally come home to yourself, you will realize that is what I've been seeking. The purpose, the fulfillment, the wholeness, the completeness, the rightness within your body, mind, and soul, the alignment, that everything's moving in the same direction instead of all going off into different places. That's what we're actually seeking. So when I finally figured that out, that's when life improved dramatically. At this point, I had not quite figured out how to heal. I had not discovered somatic healing therapies yet, but for the first time in my life, I was actually enjoying my life. I leveled up in my career. I got multiple promotions and new jobs with Fortune 500 companies and breaking the six-figure barrier. I achieved the highest level of prestige in a product development position, managing $1 billion portfolio. I married a beautiful man and we had 2 gorgeous children. We bought a brand new home and new cars. I had all the things that the world defines as the measures of success. And yet, I still had not yet achieved the highest level of peace and happiness that I originally was seeking and my soul knew was possible. And that's where I realized I was still seeking, right? Even as a young child, I had that seeking tendency. I would stare at the stars and just know there's something more to life. I'm here to do something big. I knew that happiness and that peace that I was searching for, it wasn't selfish. I doubted myself. I still had that self-deprecation of what's wrong with you. You should be happy. Shouldn't I be happy with all that I have? Am I ungrateful? Am I, dissatisfied when I should be satisfied? What is wrong with me, right? Why can't I just be happy? But I'm so grateful for that strong sense of knowing that told me that there was more. Even though it took me quite a few more years, I eventually had to leave my corporate job. I had to go through divorce, leave my house, leave all this stuff to finally come back to wholeness again. Because what I had created was from a sense of the wounded inner child that had discovered how to manage her internal environment and manifest, but not from a healed place, right? I manifested from the wounded child place, right? So when I finally discovered how to heal, right, I finally discovered I had a wound of unworthiness. Again, they're so sneaky. They hide in our blind spots. You can't see them. And I finally found another amazing therapist who is my therapist now that I continue to see weekly. He's amazing. And he, is always reflecting back to me. Oh, there it is showing up again. I was like, gosh, darn it. There it is again, right? It's a constant process of peeling back these layers, right? Removing the not enoughness, the lack mentality, the worthiness. When I was transitioning from the corporate world and trying to put myself out there, I remember the first time I did a live, I thought I was going to vomit. I felt like crap. I hated it. I never wanted to do it again. And in fact, I didn't do it for another 2 years. And I couldn't understand why, because I wanted to be helpful. I want to be of service. I love holding space and loving on my clients. I love nurturing people. And yet that feeling of risking judgment and criticism and rejection was so overpowering that it caused me to shrink back, right? I didn't think I was going to survive. I thought for sure somebody was going to just tear me limb to limb, I think is the feeling that I felt in my body. I simply could not risk the pain of being rejected. And so I didn't for 2 years until I realized I still was not going to be able to ignore that soul's calling, the soul urge towards something greater. And that's when I learned that I had to find the healing. I had to understand what was coming up for me, right? There was no way to not share this purpose. And even though I was terrified of the possible outcome, I had to do it. So I kind of did a Tony Robbins burn the boat, and I quit my 6-figure job, filed for divorce, gave up the big, beautiful home, the fancy car. I walked away from it all. And I had no way of knowing if I would survive or how my kids were going to survive or how I'd feed my kids or pay my rent. It was probably the most daring thing I've ever done. Right. But the one thing I did know was that I had a purpose and I had a calling, and my creator loves me and was going to take care of me and provide for me. right? And that never failed me, right? There was always support, no matter what it looked like. It didn't always look like somebody handing you cash, right? It looks like somebody bringing food or helping with rent, right? Either way, I was supported. I was able to step into my purpose. And the evidence of the support that kept showing up was confirmation that I was on the right path, right? That was the true peace and happiness that I was seeking. The moment I began to step into my purpose, that's when I tasted the ecstasy that I never knew was possible. I absolutely love helping people. I feel so alive and nourished and fed after a healing session. It's amazing. The process of researching and creating videos and courses and content, I love it all. I love using the knowledge. All of that seeking finally started to pay off. I could start to pour it into others instead of just consuming more. I love helping people find their purpose. And most of all, this is what's so crazy is you can be in these corporate jobs doing very high level business and know that your skills are not being utilized to their fullest extent, right? Problem solving is one of my highest gifts. I have a unique ability to spot like the root cause of the issue and go after that. And also another gift that comes right along behind that is developing solutions, right? And so that worked really well in product development. It was great in the corporate world, but it was not being utilized to the extent that it is now. And it's so awesome to step in and help people heal and spot an issue and develop the response or the solution or the somatic healing therapy or call in the energies or whatever it is that is necessary to fix that problem. When you do the thing you are made to do to the level you are made to do it, you will know there is no denying this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, I had to work through all of my unworthiness wounds and I had to go through some painful trauma healing sessions, but it wasn't hard this time. It wasn't as hard as the constant talk therapy that I had done for years and years and years. Trauma spotting through source tapping is based on brain spotting and energy healing. It is amazing that the body knows how to heal. It will handle it. It basically makes the healing painless and effortless. And it shatters that glass ceiling that's held us back for so long, right? I finally began to feel truly loved, not necessarily by others. Yes, that came along with it, but also by myself. I followed my intuition in every moment. I let joy be my compass, and I became whole again, literally shedding off all of the trauma responses and character traits that really weren't aligning to my original design. They weren't part of me, they were trauma responses. And that came from the protection of keeping myself safe, right? It was me trying to avoid, we wear a mask, also another trauma response, right? Avoiding being who we were made to be so that we don't rock the boat, right? I discovered that we were all made perfectly imperfect for a purpose. And I began to shine brighter than ever before. And when we do this, we become even more powerful than we ever could have imagined. And best of all, we're not afraid of our power. I learned to be comfortable with making other people uncomfortable and had unshakable foundation of confidence. Unfazed by anyone or basically anything anymore. I joke, I get triggered at breakfast and move through it by lunch, right? Not to mention living a life of abundance. My kids have me home every day with them and we go wherever we want, whenever we want. There's no boss to report to. There's nothing stopping me from creating what I feel guided to create or resting when I need to rest. There is such a level of freedom and abundance that we were born to experience. Our soul knows it, and it's part of what urges us towards this. And that's why I have to share this with the world. I have to help people prevent that pain that I lived in for so long. There's so much human potential that could be unleashed in you and in the world through this modality. We have understanding how to heal our wounds not only helps you, but it helps the collective, right? The tide rises all boats. This allows you to step into your life purpose so that you can experience this type of change too, not only for you, but for the world, right? Oh, it was when I started to use my gifts and combine my passion for psychology, neurology, personal development, spirituality, and helping people, that's when it all finally clicked. And like I said, it's kind of like that alchemy of turning the knobs and mixing things together. That's why nobody can tell you what your purpose is, because you will find it as you heal and start to open up and go through the process with someone who can help mirror to you. Hey, you're really good at that. Hey, did you notice that? What do you think about combining these? And brainstorming, right? This is another thing that our society doesn't encourage and really should, right? Where two or more are gathered, there the divine is, right? So that's when it all clicked for me. And there was an immense sense of joy and rightness that washed over me. That was the thing that I had been searching for. And I knew that there was more to life, and this was it. This was the thing I was looking for, right? There's a knowing that overcomes your body that cannot be denied when you are living in your purpose. It's a natural high that takes over you, indescribable, almost out of body experience, right? Even as I explain it, there's like a dizziness, right? From just being so high and high on life, right? A righteousness or a rightness that cannot be denied. We can truly access the highest levels of joy and bliss when we step into this. And just good enough is not all there is. We have to stop telling ourselves that lie. It plays into the unworthiness wound, and it causes us to ask, what's wrong with me? Why am I not content with the way things are? It is safe to trust the guidance of your desires, right? When you start to taste your life purpose, you will know. You will know that is the thing that you've been searching for all along. And it doesn't mean it's all rainbows and sunshine and unicorn, right? To go through the process to get to the other side, but it is well worth it. Creating your dream life is an evolution over time, and it does take time. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, though. Once you demand and declare it, right? The theta healing tomorrow is going to be amazing. It'll teach you how to do this. That's when you can grow while, and this is the awesome thing too. You grow while you build it, right? It's like ascension on steroids. The building of it shapes and molds you. It levels you up. And you just keep leveling up. There's more and more. It gets better and better and better every day. And you'll find yourself saying, really? I'm shocked that I deserve so much goodness. I'm shocked that it could be so good, and yet it keeps getting better and better, right? It only takes a moment to step into this, and it only takes one yes to get you started. I want you to look back at this moment and remember, this was the moment when everything changed. This was the moment that you acknowledge that no one can do the things that you can do, and that your time is now. If you make that decision, there is nothing that can stop you. You have to truly mean it. But when you mean it, the universe conspires in your favor. So are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Is today the day? It doesn't mean that there won't be moments of doubt. It doesn't mean you won't wonder if you can hold it or if you still do, right? When you realize the energy is already inside of you, you can always tap right back into it. So I told you my story because I want you to feel like I'm human, right? I want you to see that it's possible for you if it's possible for me. When you find the right person to calibrate to, when you fall in love with a mentor that has done what you want to do and feels like home to you, there is nothing that can stop you. So humanize me as much as possible. Imagine that I'm sitting in your living room or in your car with you, and that this thing that has changed inside of you is amplified when we come together. I want you to know that I consider you my sister or brother. And this is like, we're just having a conversation so that we can collapse time together and create on hyperspeed recalibration so that we can walk together and talk together through your journey of transformation. So just feel me as that girl that struggled just like you do so that we can do this together. No one tells us what we can do or when we can do it or how we can do it or on what timeline. It is our job to be the decider. It is our job to be our own hero, and it is not the grand gestures that shape us. It happens in the micro moments. So it's time to claim it. Are you ready to claim this today for you? And if so, I want you to make this statement out loud with me, right? I decide, right? Profoundly from the gut, from your solar plexus, from your power center. I decide here and now. I am the one. I am one with the one. I am claiming my abundance birthright. I am committed to reclaiming the lost parts of me. I am whole and complete. I am stepping into my purpose. I am committed to being of service and creating the new earth. I am committed to knowing my oneness with the divine. I am committed to manifesting my abundance birthright. Remember, income is impact. It is not selfish. Okay? You are the one because no one else can be you. It's your deck of cards and you get to decide how you want to play them. Imagine if in a few short years from now, you are the one who can make people feel like the one, right? We are not less valuable because we struggle. We are not less valuable because we have fear. We are not less valuable because we have moments of shakiness. We are not less valuable because we're just getting started. It would be unreasonable to expect you to go out and win a tennis tournament on your first day of playing tennis, right? Give yourself the grace to be human. You get to do it your own way. And when you own your power, you show others how to do the same. So when everyone gets to be who they are, unapologetically, in their power, fully and wholly and complete, the world will be a different place. So the next step is to quiet your mind, connect to source. Say it again. Quiet your mind, connect to source, ask for guidance, and ask for the next right step. It's all you ever need is just the next right step. You're not going to get the whole 5-year roadmap. The very lucky few get a vision of when and how. But the how and the when are none of our business. That's up to the divine. The key is taking balanced action, right? So get that next right step and take action. Play Marco Polo with God, right? Ping back and forth. Guidance, action, and just keep taking steps towards your purpose, towards your healing, right? So again, I will let you know that if you're ready to start with the healing process, if you're ready to jump in, you know this is for you, there's no stopping you, you're ready to dive in, then join us. I will drop a link below for the More Than Enough Mastermind. We're starting June 6th, where you will not only heal yourself, but also become a healer, get a certification in trauma spotting through source tapping, and practice sessions. So you will have one-on-one sessions with me, you will have practice sessions with a partner, and you will also receive sessions from your partner in the practice sessions so that you can not only heal and work through all of the key milestones that I have noticed over my years of coaching are necessary. Everybody's got some flavor of all of these different trauma responses. So we'll go at the core root of all of those, and then also you'll be able to practice and become a healer at the same time. Otherwise, let's join again tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to jump into how to identify your life purpose. There are nuances in how to recognize, how to spot the ingredients of your soup, right? How to recognize what needs to be combined together to create your unique purpose. So for today's activity, let's comment in the community on what is your aha? What has been realized through this process so far? What do you feel like has been life-changing for you? How has this impacted you, right? And how will you how will you act on your commitment? What steps are you going to take to start to move towards healing the trauma, healing the conditioning and programming, and stepping into your life purpose? For those that do the activity, I will send you a link for the future self progression to meet your millionaire self. And then tomorrow, the activity or the freebie will be the theta healing for healing abundance blocks. So do join us. Tomorrow is my favorite day, our last day together, but also the theta healing is profound, teaching you how to take your power back, how to command and request in co-creation with the divine, the things that support you in your purpose and your path, right? So also, I should say, tomorrow is not just life purpose, but how to make a living doing it, right? We're going to cover that as well. All right. I think that is all I have for you today. I love you guys so much. I look forward to seeing all of your comments. Thank you again for your vulnerability and showing up yesterday. And I'll see you tomorrow. I love you guys. Namaste.